And this week on What the Fuck Are We Doing? It is time to put the garden to bed. So we are going to start the cleanup phase. I'm really hoping my family's headed out that door here soon. We are going to harvest absolutely everything we can out of the garden, get that done, and start pulling things. And then getting things put to bed, putting down cover crops, and just getting it reset and ready for next year. So I'm going to turn on the speed through, and we're going to get this crazy shit done. All right, we are going to start out with me grabbing the okra and getting all of that. I'm 5'4", and by the end of the okra coming down, I think it was last week, that okra was over 7 feet tall, and I finally took it down because I just couldn't reach it anymore. My daughter is over here picking peppers, and she is doing this one by one at this moment and probably cursing me at this time. I remember correctly because there are so many different chili peppers. The plant she's on right now is a Thai chili pepper, which are super, super hot. And all the rest of the smaller pepper plants are chili peppers. And we are picking absolutely everything. So we're just going to keep on going. I decided to go ahead and start pulling the weeds and get everything cleaned up. And it's just a very long, exhausting day of getting things done. In our house, these things are called balls to the walls type of days, where we just go until we drop because things have to get done. We needed to get the garden cleaned up. There's a schedule and a plan so that my husband and I can take a weekend away, and then my daughter gets the house to herself, which makes her exceptionally happy. She will probably be watching, what's that show? It's not a show, it's a movie. It's not 101 Dalmatians. Aristocats. One of her favorite movies in the world is Aristocats, and she will watch it every day, all day if she could. It's like her favorite thing in the world. So I don't have to worry about her being home alone. Yes, she is very short, but she is an adult. So she is perfectly safe to be home by herself. At this point, she's like, Mom, I'm just going to chop down the freaking peppers. I'm cutting them into bushes and we're good. I'm taking the leaves, I'm taking everything, and I'm done. And then I decided to do the same thing because there were a lot of chili peppers. And so I'm cutting as I'm going and finding the peppers. It looks like I just ate one. I did not because I don't do spicy. Spicy is not my forte. If y'all are thinking this speed through is taking a really long time, it is. It took us probably 2 hours to get all of the freaking chili peppers and Thai peppers, and that was working together to get them. And this is why I called in my family for reinforcements. Next year, one chili pepper plant and one giant Marconi. I always say that wrong. And that's it. That's all the peppers we need. We probably don't even need that because we will have so many from this year that we will probably never need to grow another chili pepper in our entire lives. Right now, what are we doing? She's still finding peppers. And I am looking for the giant Marconi. Giant Marconi. Dear God, why can't I get that right? So, yep, we're almost done though. We're almost done. This is why we're cutting as we go. And we are on to the dreaded, horrifying tomatoes. They got so out of control. So what I did, because when I put them in the ground, they were small. Tomato plants start out small. They do not stay that way. I also did not know at the beginning of this season that there were two different types of tomatoes. There's a vining tomato and a bush tomato. I guess I planted primarily vining tomatoes, and they went friggin' batshit. They were just everywhere. But if you notice, there are very few weeds because there was not enough room for weeds to grow. Also, there's comfrey in these beds, and like the tomatoes suffocated the comfrey, which I didn't even know was possible. Like, look how sad my comfrey is right there. And that one was doing well comparatively speaking to the others. And you can see the sticks. Like, I tried with the sticks. I tried to keep it under control. I tried to make it work, and it did. Oh. So what I did was 3 plants in a row, and that was too much. So lesson learned for next year. Plant like tomatoes with like. Give it a place to grow, and do not plant them in rows back to back.
I tried. You can at least see I tried.
I have so many sticks. Mother, can you put the sticks away?
Mother, can you put the sticks away? I don't know why she calls me mother. It's been a thing since she was like 8. It's a little weird. I was like, always had the dream of being called mommy for like always and ever. And then like at 8, she just decided to start calling me mother. And that's how it's been ever since. And she always says it with the same inflection, which I just find both adorable and kind of creepy at the same time. But we're going to continue to pull all of the tomatoes out, and she is going to get more and more aggravated. My cat is next to me right now, sneezing her little head off because it is a little nippy, and I have all the windows open because I was dying for some fresh air where we were not sweating to death. All right. And my husband is back from the vet and letting us know that Maka is 4 months old and will be going in to get fixed in roughly a month. And when I say my daughter continued to get aggravated, it's just this was a lot of work and we were exhausted already. And we're just done with tomatoes. We were so done with tomatoes, all of us. None of us want to see a tomato ever again, and I still have to process all the tomatoes. Though I did get some relish made, and it was really good. It's green tomato relish. I didn't know at the time that green tomatoes could be canned later for making deep fried green tomatoes. But now I know. So next year, if we get green tomatoes, I will be doing that. And at this point, we are moving a bit faster because my daughter was like, can we have music? Please, God, let us have music. So we put on some Disturbed and some heavy metal and just got to getting, and we were singing and having a blast and remembering songs and just talking about the past and our old houses and the things that we have learned over time. It was actually a really good time with my daughter, and I just enjoyed it so much. We talked about so many different things. And I even learned that she is excited for the flower gardens next year because she now is thoroughly in love with flowers. So that makes me extremely excited. Y'all, it's the last tomato bed. We're finally on the absolutely last tomato bed. And we just kept on going and pushing through. I probably planted over 50 tomato plants and gave away 40. That's not to mention how many I couldn't find a place for or to give to anybody. And oh. I know better next year. I am not starting that many tomatoes. Well, I probably will be starting that many tomatoes, but I will be selling them at a farmer's market. So there's that. I will not be keeping them all for our garden or just trying to pawn them off on people who don't want them. But we're done with the tomato beds. We're totally done with the tomato beds. And now we're just going to be going through and cleaning up weeds, getting what we can get done while there is still some shade in the garden. And here shortly, we will go inside and start processing all of the things, then come back out later and finish doing what we need to do so that the shade is back in the garden. So I don't know if my daughter has the same allergy to the sun that I have. She does actually not spend much time outside. So as you can tell, we're both fairly pale. And I'm just trying to make it so that she is safe and we don't have to find out if she has the same allergy that I do. We've also successfully kept her from ever being stung by a bee. So we don't know if she has that one either. She was capable of somehow taking my immunity to poison ivy. So now I get poison ivy and she doesn't, which is slightly annoying because I used to be able just to rip out poison ivy and it not be a big freaking deal. I can't do that anymore. Those are burdock, and they're going to go until the very first frost when I will then pull them up and harvest the roots. It is a very good medicinal herb. So I have my daughter back over there separating chili peppers from leaves since we kind of just gave the F up and chopped down the plants and just took them all.
So like I gave up.
More than Jesus, more like she gave up. Chris is out mowing the lawn, and I am dealing with the other aftermath of tomatoes, okra, green peppers, giant Marconi peppers, and trying to figure out how to do the herbs next. So I'm going to put you on speed through, and we'll see how much we got when we get done.
You might have to come over here to collect some of your own green peppers.
All right, so when I am getting all of the produce out of the garden, I do bring it in, and then I fill the sink with water, and I put in a little bit of vinegar in the water just to kind of make sure things are dead and not crawling around. I also double check everything that's come in to make sure I didn't grab anything that is rotten. And when I'm moving it over from the sink to the butcher block top counter, I am double checking it again to make sure that there is still nothing rotten, that I didn't miss anything, no bugs are on it, there's no dirt left, things like that. I did keep the green and the red separated, and I am soaking them separately, cleaning the sink in between each just to make sure that we are not eating anything we shouldn't be eating. Now, I do try to be as organic as possible, so there's no, no weed killer, no anything weird going into the garden beds. It's all natural stuff. So it's basically just getting off dirt and bugs. And then right here, I am separating out the green tomatoes into bags to be taken out to the freezer to be processed later. And something I did learn about freezing green tomatoes, make sure they are all very good, not a single itty bitty bug bite, because they will rot like almost as soon as they thaw out. So I ended up not being able to use all of them because I just didn't get to them in time. And that will be in a later video when we go through and make tomato relish, which is actually really freaking good, by the way. So I don't have to buy relish now, which is a bonus. And that is the last of the tomato harvest. Actually, no, it wasn't. Oh, dear Lord. Nope, I went out and I found more tomatoes in places where I had forgotten tomatoes. But now it is time to process the okra and the green peppers. Yeah, the okra and the green peppers. And I honestly, for all the green peppers that I collect, I just bring them in, get them cleaned up, and then I cut them I just chop them up and freeze them like that, so that when I go to can, it's all prepped and ready for me, and I just have to measure it out. Canning days, canning weeks are stressful enough. You don't want to have to add anything extra to it. So just as the green peppers come in or as onions come in, I chop them up, I prepare them to be used, and I'm good to go once I am going into a canning frenzy. And I do the same thing when I bring in okra. I get it cleaned up, I get it cut up and then into gallon bags and get it frozen. What I end up doing with the okra, once I have it all collected, you can it, but it didn't come in big enough bulk for me to can it. So I ended up freeze drying it, and we'll be trying it that way this year. The amount of chili peppers and Thai peppers that we got this year was asinine.
Just holy shit. Come and look. Holy shit.
Like I said, y'all, this was a very long day. So after we got done processing everything in the kitchen, we are back out of the garden as the sun is starting to go down so that we can just get this done. And yes, that is another friggin' tomato plant. And we found more tomatoes, so I had more tomatoes to process when we got in. I also forgot that I planted tomato plants around the edges, which I find later in the week. So, yes, so much more to do. It didn't seem to just stop at all. So next year, actually, probably this winter, I will be looking into different types of weed fabric. That way, there's just less of this to do at the end of the year, and then I want weed fabric that I can reuse. So I have to figure that out. I have not gotten that far yet. The big bushy purple flower that you can see in the middle of that bed closest to you on the screen is, I guess, how I would say that, is called cleome. It's a very good medicinal herb, and it's used widely for pregnancy. I cannot remember if it's South America or in Africa that it's more widely used. I need to look that back up and figure that out, because now it's just annoying me that I can't remember. We are about to find our very first ginormous spider about now, and we freak out a little bit. So you're going to see us jumping around probably a bit because we're trying to avoid the giant spiders we are running into, and a lot of the weeds get left because we can't stop running into them. They are absolutely everywhere. And the reason these beds back here got so overtaken, one, they were my sacrificial beds, so I just let the bugs go haywire back there. But the two beds in front of this back one that's really, really bad is where all of the pumpkins and Jack B. Littles, mainly all the squash was. And the bees were just insane. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of bees, and they would not let me to the back part of the garden, which is why this part became such a monumental mess. I couldn't get back there to weed it, to take control back, or any of that. And this is what it ended up looking like. As my daughter and I are finishing to get all of these weeds up, Chris, my husband right there, has been going around and cleaning up after us and getting it out of the pathways so that we can walk freely and just not leave them all there to rot. We're dumping them off into a corner where there's like a swampy area because I don't want to like just let them all die in the garden beds because of the squash bug problems that we had. But we also can't just burn them because it's really, really dry. So there was no safe place to burn anything. So we're just going to dump them back there, let them decompose back there, get it out of the garden. And that weird, funky, flippy, grassy stuff, it's called Johnson grass, which I've learned more about, which will be in a later video. That crap is crazy, and it is everywhere. You just have to keep pulling it and working at it, but where I live, you're just not going to get rid of Johnson grass ever. All right, heads up if you don't want to be in it, baby. Oh, that one's a little harsh.
So you don't want to cut off all of it?
Well, I won't cut this out. I just don't want to talk about some weird crap.
You raised me.
I know. We don't need people to know how you were raised.
Hello. I don't want to be in it, but
All right.
I'll sit behind here.
I know my husband's being loud as shit.
He's over things.
Nobody's very happy with me right now. There are very giant spiders, almost as big as we are.
There's a grandma, mama, and her children.
Yes, there's a
And there's
grandma.
a big ass fucking bumblebee.
Okay, well, we think there's probably a great grandma, a great grandfather, a great grandpa, and the mamas and the babies, and there's a whole shit ton of them.
There's a fat bumblebee.
Yes, and the fat bumblebee has not left us alone all day. But we got it pretty clean, everything cleared out, everything harvested from the innards that we could get, and we got a funny carrot. We got a funny carrot. I'll just leave that for everybody else. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you like these types of videos, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do the things. I'm going to go put this down now. Have a nice night, y'all. Have a blessed and magical week.